I would definitely put a large portion of that in Dutch residential, not necessarily being Amsterdam, because I feel that the market there already went quite a way. That is something that I would consider. I would also look into, and we didn't really touch on it, but I would spend some money on the long leases here in Brussels, but also look into places like Bruges, Antwerp, where the sector that you mentioned, so the tech, the innovative firms are starting to pick up, but that's a more management-intensive task. So you need to be willing to take that risk. But those three elements I would consider.
Okay, good. Patrick.
Well, I can definitely team up with Jos on two, being the residential in the Netherlands. Definitely a very interesting one. Amsterdam might be becoming extremely expensive, but population is growing. There's a definite need for that, so without a doubt. And as I've said earlier, I would try to balance it, be a little bit safe with your money, and put some of it in the Brussels market, long-term, secured, gives you a good return, and then search for those dynamic markets like Amsterdam. Maybe look a little bit at logistics. Logistics markets in the Netherlands do still offer opportunities. We're looking at those, so a bit of that balance in your portfolio.
Great, thank you. Thierry.
I would not put it in offices. I'm not a huge fan of offices because, especially in Belgium, we have absence of rental growth. I just don't see that happening. And I think the capex element is very often underestimated in the total return picture of offices. I would put my money in partly in residential, for sure. I mean, interest rates will go up and yields will react to that. And I believe that residential, Netherlands and Belgium is quite well placed as a defensive investment, not to lose value going forward when those yields move. I think they are well hedged against that. I would put my money also in retail, high street retail in both countries, because I remember the slide with all the regional cities, so you have a very good regional spread. Again, it's very management intensive because you're looking at small deal sizes, but I think also there you have a good hedge both in value, in values and yield against future yield hikes. And thirdly, I would put my money in logistics. Huge fan of that. Basically, the income component is still strong within the whole total return picture. So, and if, again, I come back to my earlier statement that 2 out of 3 main ports in Europe are in the Benelux. You have a lot of roads, high population density. You can reach 40% of customers within a 500-kilometer range, if I remember correctly. So a huge fan of logistics there. Yeah.
Okay, great. Alex.
Well, I'll believe in my own story. So I'm going to invest in Brussels. I do already. On the back of 2 points, so as JLL said, you know, I think Brussels is profiting or benefiting from renewed vibrancy. So mixed-use developments, residential, office, and retail. So on the back of renewed vibrancy as identified, but also on the back of demographic growth. Between 2000 and 2014, the Brussels population has grown 15%, which is much more than the OECD average of 7.8. So I think that trend is here to stay. And then outside of Belgium, I would probably invest in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a very strong financial center that is there to stay in the long term. So for conservative long-term investment, I think Luxembourg offices is probably a good bet.
Okay, good. Marcus.
Yes, being the last one, everything's said already, so I can get everything a little bit together again. Given our huge residential history, I would definitely put a large part in residential, because I think there are structural opportunities still available in the Dutch market, and also in Belgium. I think residential can play a stabilizing role for any portfolio. In combination with residential and driven by similar fundamentals, I would go for retail, but mainly, let's say, it would grocery retail or high street retail, as these are the 2 segments we think make stable cash flow and can benefit an investor. And in addition to these 2 factors, I would say logistics is, due to the changing retail structure, one of the things that can be a little bit seen as a derivative to retail to a large extent going forward, that can help getting your yield on the running investment a little higher.
Okay, great. Thank you.
On the logistics side, I think it's interesting to know that Belgium has recently changed its legislation in terms of night shifts. Logistics centers in Brussels or in Belgium have not developed as fast as in other countries because of the backward-looking legislation. That has now changed. So I believe that logistics in Belgium, thanks to the new legislation allowing night shifts, will be a driving force for that sector.
Yeah, and to add to that, salary cost was 10% higher in Belgium compared to the Netherlands, but also that is being reformed by the current government, so there's good perspective there as well.